college football writer for ESPN, Heather Dinnick, I'm not sure how you say her name, had some very interesting comments about the Auburn wide receiver room yesterday. She said, at Auburn football fans, you might need some patience with your wide receivers. Our wide receivers got word of this tweet and they responded in kind. So listen to what some of these wide receivers said back to Heather. Camden Brown said, note to self. Landon King noted, and he put a laughing emoji. And Coy Moore, bet. So the way I'm taking this is that these Auburn wide receivers saw the criticism. They're taking it and they're basically saying, we hear what you're saying, but we're going to show you that we're actually going to do better than what you think. You're saying that we're not doing well, that the fans are going to need patience with us because we're not performing the way we should, but we're going to show you. We're going to show you that we can step up and we can do better. And that's great. I like that attitude. The question is, will our wide receivers, will the players be able to step up to the plate and do better? There's a lot of factors that go into play for this. One, we've got to get better O-line play, that's going to happen. If we have better O-line play, our quarterbacks will have more time to get the ball off. If our quarterbacks have more time to get the ball off to the wide receivers, theoretically, then we should make more receptions because last year it just did not happen. So we need better O-line play, better quarterback play, and then that leads to better wide receiver play. If you want to talk about last year, some wide receiver stats, our leading wide receiver was Javarius Johnson. He had 26 receptions for 493 yards, 3 touchdowns. Coy Moore was the second leading receiver for Auburn. He had 20 receptions for 314 yards and 1 touchdown. And then our third leading receiver was Jarquez Hunter. And he had 17 receptions for 224 yards and 2 touchdowns. Overall, I think what you can see is that we did not have that many receiving yards. And so to give you a comparison, I want to compare our team stats to the team stats of Alabama. Yes, Alabama was a better team, but I think we should compare ourselves to a good team and not a mediocre team because that's what we should be striving for. So let's compare our stats last year, our receiving stats, our passing stats to Alabama. Looking at completions versus attempts, we attempted 159 passes. We attempted 308 passes, completed 159. Alabama attempted 438, completed 280. So they passed 130 more times than we did, and they completed 121 more passes. So they completed a lot more passes than we did. If you look at the yardage, the receiving yards, we only had 2,072 receiving yards. Alabama had 3,660 yards, almost double what we had. If you look at yards per pass attempt, Alabama had 8.4, we had 6.7. Passing yards per game, 281 for Alabama to Auburn's 172. And then the stat that I think really stands out above the others, the one that I think hurts more than the others, is the receiving touchdowns. Alabama had 37 passing touchdowns. Auburn had 9. 9 single digits. So you compare that to Alabama, 37 to Auburn's 9. This is an area where Auburn desperately struggled last year. It's an area where we need to make some vast improvements, especially in Hugh Freeze's and Philip Montgomery's system. We've got to do much better. And so for that to happen, a lot has to improve. Yes, the wide receivers have to improve. That's a must. It's got to happen. So her comments, while they were a little harsh, and I think our wide receivers are like, wow, that's what you're going to say. And it is a little shocking that you're invited. And those are the kind of the first comments you make, or some negative comments about the wide receivers. I get you're there to be impartial, and we don't want writers to just say everything we want to hear all the time. So maybe this is truly what she saw. But at the same time, you were invited to come in. You know what? I think this is not a bad thing. I think it's not a bad thing that she said this, because maybe it will put some fuel in the tank for our wide receivers to do better. It's going to encourage them to improve. And based on the stats we have from last year, we need the improvement. We desperately need the improvement. We were not a good wide receiver room last year. Like I said, there's a number of factors that go into it. It does not mean that the players were not good. It could have been the system that the coaches put them in. It could have been the coaching they received from the coaches we had on the field last year. It could have been the offensive line play, which led to the quarterback play not being as good. And there's just a lot that can go into it. And, and maybe it was the wide receivers who were not that great last year. But this is a new year, and I think Camden Brown for sure is going to be something special. Darius Johnson, he was a great player last year. He's only going to improve. I think that Coy Moore is going to get better. I just think we can't rule out our wide receivers when we haven't even touched the field yet. Yes, they may have some room to grow, but how much of that is from our quarterback play, our offensive line play, or is it truly just our wide receivers are struggling? I'd love to know what you think about our wide receivers in general. Is there anybody you're seeing, like I mentioned, Camden Brown, who seems like they are ready to go and they're going to make an immediate impact? Or do you have some concerns about our wide receivers? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Please like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.